Welcome on in. It's episode 4 of NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Wilner Engineering here on the Motor Racing Network. Wilner Engineering, on the road, in the air, and around the world. Wilner is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, trusted to perform. My name is Chris Wilner here in the MRN studios in Concord, North Carolina. MRN Pit Reporter. It's a solo episode today. Kyle Rickey feeling a little under the weather post-Fontana. It was awfully cold in Southern California this weekend for all of the NASCAR action, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the NASCAR Cup Series. Kyle, we wish you feel better. We'll see him next week on this episode. Still got a lot to talk about, especially as we get started with the NASCAR Root season of 2023. Of course, we are on the tail end now of the World Series down at New Smyrna. That is in our rearview window. We're now going to talk about some season openers, some big races to kick off the 2023 season as the temperatures are finally getting ready to go up. I know here in Charlotte, it's a nice 68, 70 degrees, and it's been like that for quite some time. So we've got some nice weather here in Charlotte, and that means it's time to go racing here this season. Now, we talked about some of the racetracks last episode that are going to be opening up. One of those is going to be Hickory Motor Speedway, just to the north of us in Hickory, North Carolina. Again, one of the long-standing NASCAR Roots tracks and Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series tracks. They're kicking off their 2023 season this Saturday, March the 4th, and talked to Landon Huffman on Twitter. He's excited. He's the defending champion for the late model and joins his father as a track champion. He's going to try to go back-to-back here this year. New sponsorship coming on board, that 75 High Rock Vodka. But there's other challengers up there at Hickory. I mean, you talk about Katie Hettinger, Annabeth Barnes-Crum. I mean, you name it. There's a bunch of talent up there at Hickory this year. Of course, some of the Toyota drivers running up front there as well. We'll see what happens here in the 2023 season. We'll get a recap of what happened for their season opener coming up on episode number 5 next week. Now, we do have a special guest coming up on the show. That is Matt Hirschman. Again, Big Money Matt starting 2023 off on the right foot once again, becoming yet another World Series championship out at Five Flags a couple weeks ago in the Modified. He, of course, is going to take part in the Smart Modified Tour opener coming up this week. We'll talk to him and talk about his season, kind of what he expects this year, especially on the national tour. Maybe going to see what kind of races he plans on running here this year. We talked about Hickory Motor Speedway returning. Luke Baldwin's got a ride for that opportunity this year. Up-and-coming talent behind the wheel of a late model. We'll see what he could do up at Hickory. I mentioned Landon Huffman. There's some also racing going down south. If you're in the Alabama area, go on down to Montgomery Motor Speedway. The Alabama 200 kicks off the Show Me the Money series for 2023 coming up this week. 25 pro late models are on the docket, at least on the official entry list. There's a ton of talent, including Augie Grill. So I believe that won that race 6 times now. So he's going to try to go for number 7 here this year. Dylan Fecchio is also on the entry list. What didn't he win last year when it comes to pro late models? He is a super, super talent behind the wheel of the pro late model. He's the track champion, of course, at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, as well as Five Flags. He's also a Baby Rattler winner, too. So when it comes up to the big Rattler 250 this year, we'll see what he could do. But Dylan Fecchio on the entry list as well. Again, that's coming up this weekend at Montgomery Motor Speedway. Talked about Smart Modified just a little bit, just to kind of get your beak wet of what's coming up here this weekend. Tons of talent listed on this initial entry list for Florence Motor Speedway coming up on Saturday. Bobby Labonte and Ryan Newman, so 2 former NASCAR competitors on track at the same time. We're going to see them out at Florence Motor Speedway. Again, teammates this year. Ryan running a partial schedule. I think Bobby's planning on running most of the Smart Modified Tour schedule as well, with some stops on the national tour. That Smart Modified Low Country 99 is on Saturday afternoon into the evening. Also, Burt Myers and Jason Myers as well. We talked about Matt Hirschman on the show. He's entered as well, so that number 60 is going to get plenty of screen time as well as I get set to go for their season. A couple other news and notes in terms of races coming up for you to pay attention to before we get Matt on the line. How about New River, the newly branded New River All-American Speedway in Jacksonville, North Carolina? It was Goodyear. It is now New River All-American Speedway. Their rescheduled Solid Rock Carriers Battle of the Stars late model event is scheduled for this Saturday. Again, it was supposed to be run back in November, but due to the massive amount of rainouts we had at the end of 2022, I know Hickory's Fall Brawl was rescheduled, so New River All-American Speedway said, you know what, we're just going to avoid a scheduling conflict. We're going to run it at the beginning of 2023, and they're going to do so with $20,000 to win for the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. for the late model stocks. Again, that'll be on Saturday. Brendan Butterbean Queen is one of the favorites entered in this one as well. Haven't seen a full official entry list, but I can assure you that there's a lot of big-name talent in the late model stock world going to challenge down there at New River All-American Speedway. Also, on the West Coast, we talk about NASCAR going to Vegas, continuing its West Coast swing here this week. Of course, MRN will be out there covering the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, but just across the street or just next to the racetrack at the Bull Ring, we've got their season opener. How about Scott Gaffarini, the 2023 champ, already looking for an 8th title at the Bull Ring here this year. He'll kick things off as part of Speed Weekend out there at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, part of the NASCAR weekend. So lots going on. Of course, lots of local racing across all the NASCAR sanctioned tracks. Again, it feels like every week we're adding a new sanction each and every week to the growing list of NASCAR sanctioned tracks in NASCAR's 75th anniversary season. So we'll have a good look at what happened around your neck of the woods coming up when racing really kicks off coming up this weekend. All right, enough of my blabbering. We've got Matt Hirschman, Big Money, on the line. We're going to talk to him coming up next here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Wilner Engineering.
Wilner Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Wilner products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Wilner Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
Welcome on back into NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Wilner Engineering. Now joining us via Zoom, it is Big Money Matt Hirschman, coming off yet another World Series of Asphalt championship out at New Smyrna a couple weeks ago. Matt, again, congratulations, man. What does it mean to you to be in company like Richie Evans and Ted Christopher for the all-time championships list and Ahmad down there at New Smyrna as part of this major series called the World Series of Asphalt?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. We've had a good deal of success in recent years. We've gone to Speed Weeks, I think 9 or 10 times total, but we've gone 7 consecutive here in recent years, and we've won a race, at least at one race each year, sometimes multiple races, and we've also won some championships here in recent years. So it's been successful. We enjoy going and racing, in Florida in February, and the notoriety that comes along with it, being a part of Speed Weeks and New Smyrna Speedway, the World Series. It's one of the highlights of the year.
And you've done something no one else has done, and that's go 5 in a row. Now, I know you wanted to get the Richie Evans Memorial on the racetrack. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had other plans. But what does that mean to you to have a week like that where you go, basically undefeated and have a week to start, your full season on a high note?
Well, it's good to have momentum going into the season, which we're going to continue our season this weekend with the Smart Tour at Florence Speedway in South Carolina. So starting off well in February can definitely carry you into the season and hopefully a long way into through the season. And it was good to get off to a great start. We swept the World Series portion, and we had a win streak going back to the end of the World Series last year. So I believe we broke a record for consecutive wins. And that, I think, was held by Richie Evans and Reggie Ruggiero. So we're putting ourselves in good company and doing some really, great things, part of the World Series. But, like I said, now that's behind us, and we'll look forward to the rest of the season.
You mentioned about momentum and what an event like that does, but why do you choose every year to run the World Series of Asphalt? I mean, obviously we know the history behind it, but what does it for you each and every year to make sure that you start your year running down there at New Smyrna?
Well, it's helped, since PD Motorsports started around and about 7 years ago when we started going to Speed Weeks every year. So that's what has helped this. And I believe it's helped us as a team. We've learned a lot. And, through some some hardship, through, struggles at times. And we've, in recent years, the last 2 or 3 for sure, we've applied everything we've learned, and it's really, showing off in the results. So, that's definitely been a part of it. And like I said, it's a difficult thing to do, and you need people that can take the time off and do it. So it doesn't work for everyone, depending on what your budget is and what your plans are for the rest of the season. But it's worked for us to start our season there and not necessarily race for points throughout the rest of the year, although we have won championships in different series and mini series and things. But it's worked for us, and we've enjoyed doing it.
Now, a little bit of a rivalry maybe brewing with Patrick Emmerling. We saw you two battling for the lead a couple times over the course of that entire week of racing. Is that something that maybe carries over a little bit when we start racing on the national schedule or some other series coming up through the course of the year? Or kind of walk me through what that's going to be like?
Yeah, I mean, I really wouldn't call it a rivalry. Just, a little, incident sort of from one night carried into the next. And it actually, there wasn't really, it was more of a racing incident, I think, than anything. But because something happened the night before, people might have been expecting something to happen. But no, I mean, we'll agree to disagree on some of the opinions and things of things, I guess. But no, I've moved on from that, and we'll, like I said, we'll take it one race at a time starting this week.
And this week is, you mentioned it, the Low Country 99 out at Florence for the Smart Modified Tour. Looking at the entry list, I mean, how cool is it to have, Bobby Labonte and Ryan Newman, and you got the Myers and yourself? I mean, this is a stacked entry list for the season opener. What are your expectations for the Smart Modified Tour and yourself going into Florence this weekend?
Well, having the Smart Modified Tour has created a resurgence for modified racing in the South because just a few years ago, it was almost extinct, to be honest. It was just trending in the wrong direction, and the car counts were very low. But the Smart Tour has resurrected modified racing in the South, and we've run with them the last 2 years. Last year, we started off the season at Florence with a win and won some more races with that group throughout the rest of the year. And their series is continuing to grow. It's got a solid entry list for this week at Florence. The weather's looking great. And then there's some big names on there that people are going to recognize with Bobby Labonte and Ryan Newman and, myself, not as a regular, but, coming off successful speed weeks. And then, like I said, you have a lot of Southern racers that, race weekly and part of the Smart Tour all the time. So looking forward to it. They're a great group to race with, and it's where it's at in March. Just like in February, Speed Weeks is where it's at in Florida and New Smyrna Speedway. This is the option for March. If you want to race a modified, you got to head to the Carolinas or Virginia, and we're looking forward to at least making a few starts with this group.
And I'll attest, it's absolutely gorgeous down here. So you're going to have great weather coming up this weekend. When you pick your schedule each and every year, obviously, we mentioned Smart Modified Tour, you run some national tour races, the Wheel and Modified Tour. How do you pick your schedule each and every year around kind of what you want to do?
Well, it's a 10-month season. So we extend that season to 10 months by racing in February, as we talked about in Florida, racing in March in the Carolinas with the Smart Tour. And then late in the season, the North-South Shootout is at Caraway, North Carolina, the Turkey Derbies at Wall Stadium in New Jersey. So that's 3 months that we extend the season by doing events like that. And then, the meat of the schedule from pretty much April to October will find us all over the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic region, and still a few trips south. But yeah, last year we raced and won with the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, the Smart Modified Tour, the Race of Champions Modified Tour, the Tri-Track Open Modified Series, and then also other open shows, and also some weekly racing in Pennsylvania, my home tracks of Evergreen and Mahoning Valley. So really, I like a variety of racing. I don't really like to commit solely to one series, and that's what we've done. But we're successful in all of them. Really, we had wins and we're competitive in everything we did, and looked to continue that in 2023.
I know coming up next month for the Spring Sizzler at Stafford, my co-host Kyle Rickey's home track. You're the defending winner there. You've got hero cards now. They've got the Stafford driver packs. I mean, how cool is that now to be going back next month as the defending champion at one of the marquee events at one of the most marquee racetracks up in the New England area? How excited are you for that coming up next month?
Yeah, it's going to be a big deal to go back as the defending winner. I thought last year that was the biggest modified race of the year. It took on a new format last year, and it really exploded. And credit to Stafford, they did a great job with the pre-race hype, building up the event, and then even the post-race, making the event special. And the Spring Sizzlers always had a lot of history, but what they did last year, I think, put it on top again. And looking forward to going back as the defending winner. And it'll be tough for sure. It could be the toughest field of the year in any modified race. It arguably was last year, and I expect the same this year. So it's not going to be an easy feat to go back to back, but definitely looking forward to giving our best effort.
And then when you find yourself on the national tour schedule this year with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, this is their biggest schedule in nearly 2 decades. I mean, it is a grueling schedule this year with 19 races. Where are you planning on racing in that schedule? And what do you think just about the growth of that series in just a few years' time now that it's back to full strength?
Yeah, it's part of modified racing in general being on the upswing. We talked about the Smart Tour before. We've had, and the other series I've raced in, things have been trending in the right direction for modified racing. I believe that modified racing is in a much better place than it was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and as recent as just 5 years ago. I think we're continuing to go in the right direction, and they've got a great schedule this year. In previous years, we'd only run about 3 or 4 races on that series. Last year, we increased. We did about half the schedule. So I don't exactly know how many we're going to do yet this year, but we're off to a good start. We ended up 3rd. Last year we won the opener at New Smyrna. This year we ended up 3rd, and we'll just take it one race at a time and see how they go. But the next event for them is at the end of March at Richmond in Virginia, and like I said, we got a lot of things going on, so I'm not really focused on one thing in particular, but we'll definitely race with them quite a bit as well, I think.
So stay tuned. I like it. Awesome. Well, finally, what are your goals for this year? I mean, just off the top of my head, I can't think of anything you haven't won, but what would be a successful 2023 season for you and your team?
Just, winning races, for sure. I mean, that's the biggest thing is to continue to win. And we've done that at a high rate in recent years. So hopefully we can keep that up. Like I said, last year going into the season at this time of the year, the big event we were looking at was the Spring Sizzler, and we ended up winning that, which is a race I never won before. So I don't know that I have one thing in particular. I mean, sure, there's places that I haven't won or would like to win at yet, but the main thing is going to be is to put a complete season together. Which we did that last year from start to finish. We bookended it with big wins, from the season opener for the Whelen Modified Tour at New Smyrna to the Turkey Derby at Wall Stadium in November. And it was a complete season start to finish. And that would be the goal, is to put together another complete year. And if we do that, we should be visiting Victory Lane many times, hopefully.
Well, just like we did last year, we kind of started our year talking about you with another successful World Series. We're doing it again in 2023. Best of luck to you and the rest of the season. I'm sure Kyle's looking forward to chatting with you up at Stafford for the Sizzler, and, of course, all your endeavors coming up for the season. Best of luck to you, Matt.
Thank you. Looking forward to it, and be glad to come back anytime.
You're more than welcome. That's Big Money Matt Hirschman getting ready for a busy 2023 season running that modified. All right, coming up next on NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Wilner Engineering, we're going to take a look at some news and notes coming into this race weekend. That's all next.
Whelan Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Whelan products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Whelan Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
Welcome back into NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelan Engineering, the solo show, the Chris Wilner show here on episode number 4. Just heard from Matt Hirschman. What a great conversation. Always nice to have Big Money Matt on the show. Of course, there's a reason why they call him Big Money Matt. It's because he wins a lot of big money shows, and certainly winning a new Smyrna World Series of Asphalt championship just adds to that list. He gets a lot of momentum coming in to the Low Country 99. Again, that is on Saturday, Florence Speedway in South Carolina, kicking off the Smart Modified Tour. Of course, we'll talk all about that. See if Matt can pick up a win there coming up this weekend on next week's episode. Some other news and notes I saw over the course of the week coming into this week's episode. How about Ward Burton? A good old Ward Burton was behind the wheel of a late model for the first time, really in anything, in 15 years. We saw a video on social media, Jeb Burton's late model. He hopped in it, did some laps at South Boston. Got news for you. Looked very good. Somebody maybe want to call Ward and say, hey, maybe try running one of my cars in a real race event, because he still has the itch, that's for sure. Came off the track after a couple laps and said, how do I need to go faster? So it was already locked in. So kind of something cool to see Ward Burton getting back to his roots out there at South Boston over the weekend. NASCAR Grassroots Racing on NBC, picking up CNBC, carrying a lot of the NASCAR Roots races. Whether you like late models or you like modifieds, it will have it all. So beefing up their 2023 coverage will be the NBC Family Networks again, as well as Peacock. Also, we talked about, Kyle and I did over the course of the end of last year into this year, the new National Super Late Model Tour, the ASA Stars National Super Late Model Tour. Their first race is right around the corner, the Sunshine 200 at Five Flags Speedway. And the lineup almost sounds like a NASCAR race. You've got Ty Majeski, Carson Hocevar, Grant Enfinger, who's a multi-time ARCA Midwest Tour champion, Bubba Pollard, Stephen Nasse, Casey Roderick, Derek Kraus, and many more. I mean, quite a lineup already. So you knew when it was going to be an all-star national tour event that it was going to be big. Well, the lineup for the first series race is going to be intense. And also you've got some notable local talents, as well as some world champs like Preston Peltier, the Montana 200 winner, as well as Jacob Gomes is there as well. Again, that's coming up March 10th and 11th. So not this weekend, but next weekend, out at the Sunshine 200 at Five Flags. So we'll keep you posted on that if we hear anybody else entering for that race. But already 2023 is going to be huge on the national schedule. Their plan is to run about 10 races on the national slate, the ASA Tour, to make kind of at least a regional stop in all of the major regions of late model racing. So again, what a start and what an announcement already to kick off their season, again, coming up in 2 weeks. And finally, how about this little piece of news? Lane Riggs, our defending NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly National Champion from last year, he now officially has his own day of the year in Durham County, North Carolina. It was announced by the city officials there that Lane Riggs Day will be March 3rd. So congratulations. That's coming up as we record this episode on the 1st of the month. So Lane, celebrate in style out there in Durham County. Congratulations to you. All right, well, that does it. I know it's been a little bit of a different episode, just myself, and I, but appreciate you for tuning in. Episode number 4 of NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelan Engineering. Thanks so much to Matt Hirschman, Big Money Matt Hirschman, for coming in and discussing his modified tour plans, as well as discussing his big championship out there at New Smyrna a couple weeks ago. I hope my co-host Kyle Rickey feels much better this week. He was supposed to come to Vegas with me to cover the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on the Motor Racing Network Friday night, the Victoria Foundation 200. He's going to stay home and rest. We'll get him back next week. So, Kyle, best wishes to you. Again, you can hear that race live on the Motor Racing Network, 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time or 8:30 p.m. on the East Coast. On MRN, we will have flag-to-flag coverage, of course, pre-race as well, of the Victoria's Voice Foundation 200 for the Craftsman Truck Series. Thank you so much to Pat Jaggers, our producer. My name is Chris Wilner. Again, this episode presented by Whelen Engineering. On the road, in the air, and around the world, Whelen is trusted to be seen, trusted to be heard, and trusted to perform. Until next time, I'm Chris Wilner. We'll see you on NASCAR Coast to Coast.